have a type, the beautiful, tragic hero. Coincidentally, the villain in this book, Jack, is the epitome of that. The day I realized where I was, my Omega younger brother was crying his eyes out, refusing to marry Jack. He said the man was moody and cruel. But that wasn't the whole story. His moodiness was a defense mechanism, a shield built from never knowing love. His cruelty was a response to being surrounded by people with ulterior motives. What had Jack ever really done wrong? He was such a perfect character. I made up my mind in a split second and raised my hand. If my brother doesn't want to marry him, I'll do it. The moment the words left my mouth, 3 pairs of eyes snapped toward me. Leo? I almost forgot we had another son. Yeah, that's about right for an invisible beta like me. You think Jack will agree to you marrying him instead? I shrugged. He just needs someone from the Bell family for this arranged marriage. It doesn't matter who it is, right? Since my brother wants out so badly, I'll go. Consider it my way of repaying the family for raising me all these years. Yeah, right. Repay them for what? A load of crap. The Bells never treated me like a person. Growing up, I was always the control group to my younger brother, Tim. Tim was a top-tier Omega. Lively, beautiful, and spoiled rotten. And Leo was moody, plain, and completely ignored. My willingness to marry Jack had nothing to do with some noble sacrifice. It was because I absolutely adored the character of Jack. The moment I awakened, the entire plot of the book flashed through my mind. Jack was the classic beautiful, tragic hero. His parents never loved him. As an illegitimate son, he was bullied relentlessly, and his legs were so badly injured that the pain became unbearable in cold weather, forcing him into a wheelchair. But as he grew up, he clawed his way to the top, not only dealing with his childhood tormentors but also taking complete control of his family's company. The book described him as having the face of an angel but the heart of a viper. Most people would run for the hills, but for me, he pushed all my buttons. Besides, my life with the Bells was absolute hell. My parents were raging hypocrites. My brother had a serious case of princess syndrome. This marriage to Jack wasn't just an opportunity, it was a godsend. The thought of spending my days counting money and tracing a handsome man's abs made me want to laugh out loud. So, the day after the marriage was settled, I packed my bags, ready to go. The morning I left, Mr. and Mrs. Bell let out a sigh of relief, a rare flicker of approval in their eyes. My father clapped me on the shoulder. Good. You finally did something useful for this family. Tim just snorted. Marrying some rich guy. You're getting off easy. Okay, fine. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. In the original story, Tim's protests were useless, and he was forced to marry Jack. But after the wedding, their relationship was worse than that of strangers. Tim even secretly helped the story's hero, stealing important documents from Jack's study and becoming a key player in his eventual bankruptcy. The book described his first sight of Jack. The door opened to reveal a handsome man sitting in a wheelchair. His extraordinary eyes looked over coldly, as if staring at an inanimate object. I took a deep breath. I tried my best to hide my excitement. Ice Prince, here I come. Jack's estate was in a remote area, which suited his quiet, solitary nature. When I arrived, the butler opened the door. Where's Jack? I asked immediately. The young master is out, sir. He should be back this evening. I glanced around. My first impressions were big, empty, dark. Wouldn't living here long-term make you depressed? Look at the lighting so dim you'd think they forgot to pay the electric bill. And this huge living room didn't even have a fish tank or a single potted plant. I shook my head. Tut-tutang. No problem. Now that I'm here, I'm going to change all of this. I spent the whole afternoon unpacking and ordering a ton of new furniture online. I was lounging on the sofa, brainstorming renovation ideas, when I heard the front door open. I looked up and saw a handsome man in a wheelchair being pushed inside. Jack was home. I shot to my feet. He was even better looking in person. Even backlit by the doorway, his stunning features were impossible to ignore. But just as the book described, his gaze was ice cold, like he was looking right through me. I didn't care. Noticing how lightly he was dressed, I grabbed a blanket, walked over with a huge smile, and draped it over his legs. "Hey, hubby, you're home." Jack froze. "You." His voice was deep with a slight rasp. It sent a shiver down my spine. "Are you Leo?" "Yep, that's me. Your fiancé." Jack's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. "Why are you here so early?" In the original story, Tim didn't show up until the night before the engagement. But I'm not Tim. To get a head start on building our relationship, of course. "That's not necessary," Jack said coldly. "This is a business arrangement. There won't be any feelings involved." He tossed the blanket aside and wheeled himself toward the bathroom. "As you can see, I have trouble with my legs. Mr. Bell, please make yourself at home." I stood there stunned for 2 seconds. Then I stuck to him again like glue. "If your legs give you trouble, I can help you bathe." Jack's frown deepened, a clear look of distaste in his beautiful eyes. "I don't need your help. Stay away from me." I pretended not to hear him. "Oh, don't be shy. We're about to get married. You'll be my husband, I'll be your, well, other husband. Helping you wash up is totally normal, right? I can even scrub your back if you want. I give great back scrubs. Time to get to work." Amidst the pushing and shoving, I'd already maneuvered him into the bathroom. Jack grabbed my wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. He repeated, enunciating every word, "I don't need it." "Yes, you do. You just don't know it yet because you've never been married. I'll show you how warm and wonderful marriage can be. Let me help you with your shirt. Come on, don't be polite." With that, I started pulling at his clothes. "Leo!" Rip. The sound of tearing fabric echoed in the bathroom. Both Jack and I froze. I hadn't even used much force, but the fine silk organza shirt had been torn right down the middle. I stared at my hands in disbelief. "Damn, I'm strong." "Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize your clothes were so delicate. I'll pay you back for it. In the meantime, how about I help you with that bath?" I swallowed hard, my eyes lingering on his beautifully defined abs. Jack was speechless. He seemed completely unprepared for my home invasion level of enthusiasm. He actually looked a little flustered, crossing his arms over his chest. He said coolly, "I'm not used to having anyone around when I bathe." He glanced at me, as if afraid of what I might do next. His icy tone softened ever so slightly. "I think I need some time to adjust. Could you please leave for now?" I thought about it for a moment. He was right. Relationships do need to be nurtured slowly. "You got it," I chirped. I sat in the bedroom, waiting for Jack to finish his shower. About 20 minutes later, the sight of a gorgeous man fresh from the shower hit me all over again. I swallowed hard. Damn, it just lit a fire down south. When Jack came out and saw me sitting on his bed, his brow furrowed again. "Why are you still here? What kind of question is that? I'm your husband. Where else would I be? I'm not used to sleeping in the same room with someone." I waved a dismissive hand. "Don't worry about it. You'll get used to it." With that, I took the towel from his hand and started rubbing his hair vigorously. "You have to dry your hair quickly after a shower, or you'll catch a cold." He smelled amazing. A good-looking alpha like him. Even his pheromones smelled like rich floral notes. I took a deep breath and leaned in close to his neck. Jack grabbed my wrist. "Leo, I don't need. You smell so good. Makes me want to take a bite." Jack was silent. He looked a little scared. After a couple of seconds, he let go of my wrist, as if he'd run out of options. "Fine. You can dry it." Jack's hair was soft, a complete contrast to his cold, hard personality. The dark strands blew around, covering his eyes, making it impossible to read his expression. "I know why you're here," he said suddenly. "It's because your brother, Tim, didn't want to marry me. It makes no difference to me which of you it was. You don't have to pretend you like me." Now, I didn't like the sound of that. "What do you mean, it makes no difference? He didn't want to marry you, but I volunteered." A sarcastic smile touched Jack's lips. "Really?" The look on his face told me he didn't believe a word. I cleared my throat and started spinning a tale. "Actually, it was love at first sight for me. Do you remember that time you saved a starving cat in an alley?" I took his hands, my expression full of emotion. "That was my cat. After that, I knew you were a good person, not at all like the rumors say. Jack, I really, really like you. My tone was sincere. My expression moved. I was so convincing, I almost believed it myself. I mean, the part about liking him was true. But that cat had absolutely nothing to do with me. In the original novel, that scene was just a minor, insignificant moment. Jack saw the scrawny, starving cat and was reminded of his younger self. That's why he couldn't bear to leave it, why he helped. When Jack heard what I said, he paused. Then his expression turned cold again. Liar. That cat died. Love at first sight. What a joke. Huh? My brain short-circuited. What kind of author writes a story and doesn't even finish that part? Seeing Jack start to wheel himself out of the room, I quickly pulled him back. Okay, no more stories. Time to prove with my actions that I wasn't put off by him at all. I started pushing him toward the bed while pulling at my own clothes. Why don't you believe me? I really do like you. Seeing me about to strip naked, Jack was so freaked out he shot right up out of his wheelchair. His ears turned bright red. Are you insane? To go this far for the Bell family? Leo, you're really something else. Jack fled for his life. Watching him go, he looked like he was being chased by a monster. Like if he slowed down, he'd be eaten alive. I clicked my tongue and shook my head. Did I really just scare off the biggest, baddest villain in the entire book? I silently gave myself a thumbs up. Leo, you're a genius. But seriously, while Jack might be ruthless and decisive in business, he was surprisingly innocent when it came to romance. So innocent he was kind of delicious. I licked my lips and walked out of the bedroom. Jack was nowhere to be found. I asked the butler, what's the deal with Jack's legs? I thought he could only use a wheelchair. The young master's legs aren't paralyzed, sir. They just hurt when it's cold. The doctor advised him not to walk on them if he can avoid it. I thought for a moment, so they can be treated? The butler shook his head. But the young master refuses treatment. That sounded about right. The book said Jack held a grudge. He remembered the pain in his legs, and he remembered the people who caused it. It was a constant reminder to make them pay 1,000 times over. I cursed under my breath. Punishing yourself for what other people did to you. How stupid is that? Well, whatever Jack thought before, for my sake, and for the sake of my future sex life, now that I'm here, I'm making sure he gets those legs fixed. Jack didn't come back all night. The next day, I was woken by a knock at the door. All the stuff I'd ordered yesterday, the fish tank, the potted plants, everything had arrived. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. Following a guide I found online, I completely redecorated the villa from top to bottom. I added lots of flowers and greenery, which made the place much more pleasant to look at. When Jack returned, he pushed open the door, saw the new decor, and froze. He instinctively took a step back, as if wondering if he'd walked into the wrong house. I laughed out loud. Don't stare. I bought all of it. Our house looked like a sterile model home, so I gave it a little makeover. What do you think? Not bad, right? If we're gonna build a life together, we have to make our home feel like a home. Jack's lips moved, his expression complicated. He seemed to be thinking, could someone like him ever have a stable life, a home with someone? The flowers I placed by the door were jasmine. Jasmine symbolizes pure, innocent love. I wondered if Jack would appreciate my romantic gesture. Cleared my throat. Guess what these flowers symbolize? Jack hesitated for a moment. They're in the way. I almost coughed up a lung. I clutched my chest and took a deep breath. I told myself it was normal for the book's cold-blooded villain not to understand romance. He just needed a little training. Wrong. I gazed at him with deep affection. This is my love for you. Jack was silent. Unnecessary. Even though his words were cold, his ears turned a strange shade of red again. That weekend, Jack and I went to my family's house to discuss the engagement details. Mr. and Mrs. Bell had prepared a huge feast, though there was almost nothing on the table I could eat. Tim loves seafood, and I happened to be allergic. So every time I reached for a dish, I had to stretch past several plates to get to something I could eat. Jack's expression was neutral. He barely touched his chopsticks the entire meal. In contrast, my parents were gushing. the wrinkles on their faces practically smoothed out from smiling so much. Jack, Leo has always been a gloomy, withdrawn child. Doesn't talk much. It'll probably be good for you to have some peace and quiet after he moves in. Jack slowly repeated, peace and quiet? I said nothing. Stop being so picky. My father suddenly snapped, wrapping my hand with his chopsticks. You're counting every grain of rice. Can't you be more like Tim? I hissed in pain and glanced at Tim, who was stuffing his face. Hard pass on that. Jack's brow furrowed. He put down his chopsticks, took my hand, and stood up. Leo is allergic to seafood. Can't any of you see that? The engagement can be next week. I'll have invitations sent. I was still a bit dazed as he pulled me out of the house. Took me a minute to process what had happened. Jack, are you worried about me? That was a first. In my entire life, no one had ever noticed my seafood allergy while I was eating. Not even my own parents. Jack said flatly, no. Your family's cooking is just terrible. In the original story, the engagement party was a pathetic affair. This time, I planned the entire thing myself. I was determined to give my villain an unforgettable memory. On the day of the party, the venue was packed with guests. I was beaming, greeting everyone. Don't be shy, everyone. Eat up, drink up. While making the rounds, Tim noticed my healthy glow. I'd even put on a little weight since leaving home. Jack hasn't hit you? Why would he hit me? Aren't there rumors that he's violent? I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. You said it yourself, they're rumors. Tim was about to say more, but his attention was caught by a commotion nearby. The next second, a scream pierced the air. Leo, and you said he wasn't violent. I looked over. Oh crap. When did Jack's older brother, Adrian, get here? To say their relationship was bad would be an understatement. It was more like they were fire and water. After all, in the book, Adrian was the one who killed Jack's mother. I saw Adrian pinned to the floor by Jack, a shard of glass about to be driven into his neck. I immediately rushed forward and threw my arms around Jack. Honey, calm down. The shard dug into my palm, warm blood seeping out. Jack seemed to snap out of it. He released his grip on Adrian's neck and said coldly, get out. In the break room, a medic was tending to my wound. I was grimacing in pain. Tim, with nothing better to do, came over to gloat. Leo, you'd actually marry a guy like that? You must be crazy for money. Why wouldn't I marry him? You saw what he did to his own brother today. I was losing my patience. If that idiot Tim had to go through what Jack went through, he'd shut up real quick. Give me a break with the holier-than-thou act. What's that supposed to mean? It means I wanted to marry him, I like him, and it's none of your business. Jack was standing at the door and had heard every word. His cold heart felt like it was being touched by sunlight for the first time in a long while. A strange warmth spread through his body. The feeling was unfamiliar, but it wasn't unpleasant. He pushed the door open. Leo, let's go home. Does your hand still hurt? I shook my head. Stopped hurting a while ago. Next time something like that happens, don't use your body to block it. I hummed in agreement. Honestly, my reaction today was pure instinct. I couldn't have my husband going to jail before we were even properly married. I sneakily glanced at Jack. I hadn't even kissed those beautiful lips yet. Back at the villa, Jack went to take a shower. When he came out, he saw me sitting on the bed and said the same thing he'd said on our first night. Why are you still here? I was a little annoyed. Come on, we're basically married. Are you still trying to kick me out? Jack's eyes darted around nervously. That's not what I meant. Seeing this gorgeous villain standing before me, looking like a flustered newlywed, couldn't resist. I pulled him over and planted a loud kiss on his cheek. Jack froze, completely stunned. I pushed him down on the bed and planted another one right on his lips. So the villain's lips were soft and springy, too. Like jello. Very kissable. Don't talk, I said, trying to sound fierce. I'm going to consummate our marriage. You are going to fulfill your husbandly duties. Jack's full chest and chiseled abs. I finally got to touch them. And I got my fill. As I touched him, I thought, this guy is everything. The lights in the room were all turned off. Jack's raspy voice broke the silence. Why? Do you like me so much? I impatiently gestured for him to get on with it. I just do. There doesn't have to be a reason. Jack's eyes darkened. The book described him as a heartless villain who had no interest in sex, almost asexual. There were even rumors that he was impotent. Well, I can officially debunk that rumor today. This guy wasn't asexual at all. He was a little too wild. He was clumsy at first and it hurt a lot, but after a while he seemed to become a natural. I was just a beta, but he must have bitten the back of my neck a dozen times, flooding me with his pheromones. It was sore and swollen, almost overflowing. It couldn't be marked, of course, but my whole body was definitely drenched in his alpha scent. The next morning, my entire body ached. I clutched my particularly sore neck as I got out of bed, but my legs gave out, and I crumpled onto the soft carpet. Jack walked in from outside and scooped me up in his arms. "Are you feeling okay?" Despite my aching back, I said, trying to sound tough. "Yeah, it was okay. Could have been more intense, though." Jack's arms tightened around me. His fingers dug into the soft flesh of my thigh as a smirk played on his lips. "Is that so? How much more intense do you need it?" "Well, if you got your legs treated, I bet you'd have even more stamina." I deftly changed the subject, steering it to the main point. "Go get them treated, please?" Jack was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. "Promise." I was thrilled. Jack's story was slowly getting back on the right track. He could finally start moving past all the awful things that had happened to him. But soon, a critical plot point would arrive. The hero, Ryan, was returning to the country. Ryan, who had always been at odds with Jack, would come back and start a business war with him. Although Jack was brilliant, he couldn't compete with the hero's plot armor. In the end, his company would go bankrupt. I imagined it. No more mansion, no more sports cars, just me and Jack, so poor we'd have to sleep on the street. A shiver ran down my spine. I couldn't let that happen. I didn't know anything about business warfare, so I decided to use the simplest, most direct method. I would make the hero and the villain shake hands and bury the hatchet. So, on the day Ryan returned, I threw him a welcome home party. And I invited Jack. Naturally, Jack was very reluctant at first. They had despised each other since they were students. The idea of them becoming friends was absurd. And so I started laying it on thick. "Ryan is my friend, and you're my husband. It would make me so sad if you two didn't get along. You wouldn't want me to be sad, would you, hubby? Please just come with me." After my shameless begging and pleading, Jack finally agreed. I'm a genius. As the hero of the book, Ryan was, of course, a force to be reckoned with. His family, looks, and background were all top-notch. If the Ryan and Belle families hadn't been friends for generations, I probably never would have gotten this rare chance at a truce. At the dinner table, the moment Ryan saw Jack, he couldn't resist a jab. "Wow, look who it is. Mr. Deadpan himself." Jack shot him a cold look. "Idiot." Seeing that a war was about to break out, I quickly intervened. "Stop." Took me 0.01 seconds to make a decision. "Ryan, that's enough." Ryan's eyes widened. "Leo, is the love between us gone? What kind of spell has Jack put you under?" Cleared my throat. "You're my best friend," I emphasized the word friend, "and Jack is the person I love most. Of course, I want you two to get along and stop fighting all the time." Puts me in a really difficult position. Jack and Ryan glanced at each other. The disgust was palpable. But thankfully, neither of them said another cutting remark. I breathed a sigh of relief. That should be enough to steer the plot away from disaster for Jack, right? After dinner, while Jack was paying the bill, Ryan suddenly spoke up. "It's kind of a shame, you know." "What is?" "You probably don't know this, but I used to have a crush on you. And then I come back to find you married to someone else. I never even got the chance to confess. Such a shame." I was speechless. I turned my head and saw Jack standing at the doorway of the private room, his face dark. "Dude, don't do this to me." No joke. The hero's one sentence nearly undid an entire night's work. Jack was wrapped in a gloomy, tense mood all the way home. I straddled his lap and cupped his face. "Why are you still upset?" "I totally shut him down, didn't I?" Jack's raspy voice sounded. I don't like it when you talk to other people. I was stunned. That was the first time Jack had ever said something so possessive to me. And being possessed like that felt amazing. The words just tumbled out of my mouth. I swear, I only love you. I'll be with you and only you for the rest of my life, until we're old and gray. That's me, the king of sweet talk. A crimson blush crept up the tips of Jack's ears, giving him a fragile, beautiful look under the lights. I was just about to lean in and kiss my beautiful man, when a sudden, sharp pain twisted in my stomach. Jack's expression turned worried. What's wrong? The pain vanished as quickly as it came, like it was just a phantom sensation. Nothing. I rubbed my stomach. I'm a beta. I couldn't be pregnant, right? Just thinking my husband needs to work a little harder to get me pregnant with his baby. Jack's eyes darkened. In a blur, I was flipped onto the soft bed, and a sharp pain shot through the back of my neck. The rich scent of flowers instantly filled the entire bedroom. As I was lost in pleasure, a cold, electronic voice suddenly echoed in my mind. A baby? Buddy, you're gonna kick the bucket before you ever get pregnant, you know that? My whole body jolted. What the hell? Jack lifted his head, his crimson lips glistening. What's wrong? Did I hurt you? No, haha, look at that. The pleasure's so intense it's making me hallucinate. Damn it, it wasn't a hallucination. The next day, I yelled into the empty bedroom. Hey, how did you get in my head? I'm the system for this book. I wouldn't even be working overtime if you hadn't insisted on messing with the plot. How did I mess with the plot? You know perfectly well how much you've changed Jack's storyline. Don't play dumb. The system let out a yawn in my head. The villain Jack's ending is supposed to be ruin and abandonment. That's what fits his tragic hero archetype. Look at him now, you've made him completely OOC. And interfering with the plot like this has consequences. Even if he avoids his original fate because of you, you'll be the one who dies. The system emphasized the word dies. You're saying Jack's fate is to lose everything and be abandoned by everyone? Yep. But why? I looked up at the empty air, demanding, why does he have to go through all that? Just because he's the villain, he deserves it? The system was taken aback. Hey, I'm just a system. I don't know anything. All I can tell you is that if you keep interfering, you'll suffer the backlash. Your health will get worse and worse, and in the end, he lives and you die. The system grumbled, besides, I don't want to work overtime. The word death was foreign to me. For years, I'd lived like an afterthought, a piece of trash. No one noticed me, no one cared, no one loved me. But I never thought about dying, because being alive is precious. You get to enjoy delicious food and breathe fresh air. Simple things that are all gone once you're dead. So, to me, death is terrifying. But now the system was telling me that if I wanted to save Jack, I had to die. Of course, you can't have it all. So I started to think, maybe I should just leave. I'd already escaped the Bell family. I had plenty of money. Why should I give up my life for a fictional character? I could live my own life, the life I wanted. But another thought kept nagging at me. Leo, are you really the same person who came to him with just a bit of curiosity, a bit of affection, and even a bit of a playful attitude? My head was splitting. I pulled the covers over my head, squeezed my eyes shut, and tried to sleep. But even my dreams wouldn't give me peace. The original ending for Jack played on a loop in my mind. After a long night, I angrily threw off the covers and cursed. Screw this. I'm not some kind of saint. I couldn't save him. But spending this last bit of time with Jack, that felt like a beautiful thing. That evening, I suggested to Jack that we go on a honeymoon. He agreed immediately. It was settled. The next day, we packed our bags and left for a trip to a snowy mountain. After treatment, Jack's legs no longer hurt. And after all this time with me, he was no longer the gloomy, pale man he once was. He looked much healthier. We were both beginners on the slopes. We stumbled and slid down the mountain like a pair of penguins. When we looked at each other, we both burst out laughing. I looked at Jack's face. His handsome features were lit up with a heart-stopping smile. This is the life he should have had, I thought. If he'd had a good family, normal relatives and friends. If he wasn't destined for that fatal ending. He should have been this vibrant and free. A strange tightness gripped my heart. Jack noticed something was wrong. What is it? Are you too cold? No. I just suddenly don't want this to end. I forced a smile. I mean, LA doesn't get much snow, you know? Jack ruffled my hair. It's okay. If you want to come back, we can come back often. Would there really be an after? I sat numbly on the bed and asked the system, is there really no way to save him? The system replied coldly, no. He's already living a much better life than before. Even if he dies, it's worth it. You should be content. I was speechless. Are you even listening to yourself? I'm not a person, remember? I threw a pillow in frustration. The next moment, I was pulled into a warm embrace that smelled of rich flowers. What's wrong? You seem so preoccupied. You've been like this since yesterday. Jack's eyes were dark, as if they could see right through everything. His perceptiveness shocked me, but I covered it up with a playful grin. Just thinking about how to get you into bed. Do you really need to think about that? Jack whispered, isn't it something you can have any time? Well, you've really changed. Jack used to be so reserved. Have I been a bad influence on him? He pulled me in and kissed me deeply. Our ragged breaths were swallowed by the kiss. When we parted, I saw his eyes, heavy with desire. Those beautiful eyes that I loved so much. The familiar, suffocating pain returned. I hated myself for being so conflicted, yet I tried to tell myself it was only human. But why did I still feel? Leo, are you hiding something from me? I just wrapped my arms around his neck, avoiding his gaze. Harder, honey. The trip to the mountains felt like a dream. Jack went back to his busy work schedule, and I lay at home, enduring the system's constant nagging in my ear. We have a deal, okay? No more interfering with the plot. I know, I said impatiently. I'd like to live a few more years. Don't just say it and then go soft later. You're really annoying, you know that? I just don't want to work overtime. I sent Jack a text. Are you coming home for dinner tonight? But a long time passed with no reply. I frowned and tried calling him. Still no answer. He must be busy, I thought. While cooking, I glanced at the news. There was a report about a car accident on a freeway on the west side of the city. There had even been an explosion. 12 casualties. The realization hit me instantly. That freeway, the 405, was the one Jack took home from work every single day. I immediately grabbed my phone and called him. But still no answer. A cold sweat broke out all over my body. I frantically called out to the system in my mind. Did the plot just jump ahead? Why is this happening? The system was just as confused. No, it shouldn't have. I grabbed my keys and bolted out the door. I called Jack again and again. After countless calls went straight to voicemail, I finally reached the scene of the accident. I was lost. Did I really think I could find Jack in this mess of wreckage? Just as I took a step forward, my phone vibrated in my pocket. Jack's name lit up the screen. Leo. I was in a meeting. Why did you call so many times? Is something wrong? The weight on my heart instantly lifted. I collapsed onto the ground, completely undignified, and let out a huge sigh of relief. Nothing. As long as you're okay, it's nothing. The wind blew, and my sweat-soaked shirt felt cold against my skin. In that moment, I finally realized. The thought of losing Jack was the most terrifying thing in the world to me. The system's voice echoed in my head. Leo, you're not having second thoughts, are you? I don't know. Maybe I really was. The second major plot point that threatened Jack was the return of his other older brother, Colin. He was an unhinged psycho. He held a deep-seated grudge against Jack for getting him sent out of the country. So when he came back, he used every dirty trick to get revenge, even trying to run Jack off the road in a murder-suicide attempt. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, that day had arrived. I didn't sleep a wink the night before. The moment I heard Jack getting out of bed, my eyes snapped open. Why are you up so early? I swallowed hard. Couldn't sleep. Are you going to the office? Jack glanced at his watch. Yeah, I have a contract to finalize today. It's going to be busy. As he walked toward the door, I called out, I don't feel well today. Can you stay with me? What's wrong? I couldn't answer. Jack chuckled. thinking I was just messing around. Stop playing. The system snickered in my head. See? It's all faded. You think you can change it? Unless you knock him out, there's no way he's staying home. Jack was about to walk out the door. I was out of options. I threw a Hail Mary. I want a divorce. Jack stopped in his tracks, as if he'd misheard. What did you say? I said, I want a divorce. A dead silence filled the room. System. Whoa, that actually worked? I glanced at the time. I just had to stall for as long as possible. Jack loosened his tie, his voice as calm as ever. Leo, you're still half asleep. No, I'm not. You know, I only married you because of the bells, because my brother didn't want to. Well, I'm sick of it now. Divorce. I had seen his eyes many times. Cold, angry, emotionless, filled with desire. But never like this. There was a chilling quality to them that sent a shiver down my spine. Say that again. Jack, The next second, a metallic taste filled my throat. I coughed violently. A mouthful of blood splattered onto the floor, shockingly red. Leo! As my consciousness faded, I realized I had successfully changed the plot again. Was it worth it? The voice in my head wouldn't quit. Jack is the villain of the book. It's normal for him to end up like that. It's his destiny to be unloved and alone. I choose him. What did you say? I said, I choose him. Even if his ending is tragic, even if he's meant to be erased, then take me with him. I already promised him forever, didn't I? Though it looked like forever was going to be cut short. Am I dying? Duh, buddy. You didn't know? Actually, no. I just knew my body was getting weaker by the day. The system continued its snark. Isn't this what you wanted? I sighed. Who wants to die? But if I do die when you're working, could you do me a favor and erase Jack's memories of me? The system was incredulous. You did all this for him, you're dying, and you want to erase his memory? You're the weirdest awakened person I've ever met. You've clearly never been in love, I said. When you love someone, all you want is for them to be happy in the future. It would be best if he never thought of me again. So, that's what you've been hiding from me. Jack had appeared at the door at some point. My eyes went wide. You can hear my conversations with the system? No. Jack placed a thermos on the bedside table. But my husband, who has always been an optimist, suddenly became withdrawn and started talking to himself. The man who loves me so much suddenly said he wanted a divorce. I'm not so blind that I couldn't see something was wrong. I was speechless. After a long silence, Jack suddenly spoke. Are you going to die? I didn't want to lie to him anymore. It's a possibility. When I was a child, my mother brought me into the Tsin family. Everyone there was hostile towards me. Back then, my mother was the only family I had. Even though she was not good to me, even though she didn't care about me, even though she only cared about love and money, not me, I would still run to her first whenever I was sad or scared. After my mother died, my only family was gone. I only have you, Leo. At some point, tears started to fall from Jack's beautiful, downcast eyes. His tone was flat, devoid of grief, as if he were telling a mundane story. But just looking at him, I felt an indescribable sadness and suffocation creep over me. I had never seen Jack cry. The book never mentioned it either. It was as if he were born without tear ducts. So I'm begging you, please don't leave me with nothing again. Jack started spending more and more time with me. Most of the time we didn't speak, but I still tried to comfort him. I'll come back. Do you believe me? Jack would always answer, I believe you. But I knew he didn't, because I wasn't sure myself. I wanted him to wait for me, but I also wanted him to forget me. I knew that my final promise would have to be broken. Another autumn came. I closed my eyes, watching the last leaf fall from the withered tree outside my window. I knew I wasn't going to wake up. In the end, the system didn't erase Jack's memory. He probably didn't have the authorization. But he was busy. Very busy. After I died, my body was gone, but my soul remained. How strange. I spent my days chatting with the system out of boredom and floating by Jack's side, watching him. The first year after I was gone, Jack was visibly despondent. His handsome face grew thin and gaunt, his complexion pale and haggard. It broke my heart. The second year, Jack eliminated everyone who had ever bullied him. He was living well, better than I had imagined. He even kept the house just as I'd told him to. Lots of flowers, a fish tank, to make it feel alive. And his reputation wasn't as bad as it used to be. Some people even developed crushes on him and asked for his number. Whenever that happened, my eyes would sting, and I'd mutter to myself, I don't care. I don't care at all. Then I'd get a round of merciless laughter from the system. You care so much you probably wish you could rise from the dead. Ha ha ha. But Jack turned them all down every time. He seemed to have resigned himself to a life of solitude. No one understood, because no one remembered me, except him. The third year after I left, my form started to grow fainter. The system said it was a sign I was about to disappear. It was only then that I felt a sudden, intense, gut-wrenching unease. More than I felt on the night I was about to die. I would never see Jack again. Death itself wasn't sad or scary, but the thought of never seeing Jack again in the long years to come was enough to make me choke up. I opened my eyes again. The first thing I did was look at my body. Was it transparent? Huh? I think I'm back. My eyes widened in disbelief. Then, a wave of pure joy washed over me. I hadn't died. I had returned to this world. There was a warmth beside me. It was Jack. A tangible Jack. I slowly lay back down, our breaths mingling. My fingers gently traced the lines of his sleeping face. I was afraid to press too hard, afraid to wake my love. You've lost weight. Jack's eyelashes fluttered. He seemed to sense a familiar presence he hadn't felt in a long time. His eyes opened, blinking twice like tranquil pools of water. Leo, he said, you're in my dreams again. I miss you so much. Every single day I miss you. This isn't a dream. My fingertips touched his lips as I pressed a kiss to them. Does the me in your dreams kiss you like this? It was like watching a glacier melt. Jack's eyes flew wide open, bursting with an indescribable, ecstatic joy. He hugged me so tightly my ribs ached. You're back. You're really back. Will you leave again? Never. This time I wouldn't break my promise. I asked the system why I was able to come back to life. He picked his nose. It's a funny story. After you died, I was working my ass off trying to fix the plot. I was so tired. I was running around like a headless chicken. I cut him off. Get to the point. So, as I was fixing it, I realized the readers actually preferred the messed up plot. What was the point of all my hard work? It made me so mad. But who would have thought a villain redemption arc would be so popular? The readers said they didn't want a bad ending, so the Time-Space Administration Bureau pulled some strings and sent you back. I'm gonna ask the Bureau for more assignments like this. I'm gonna beat 007's performance record. Long story short, you're back for good now, so go get your happily ever after with your hubby. The readers loved that stuff. When I came back, it was winter. I had met Jack in the winter, too. Our story had come full circle. On New Year's Eve, the first snow of the season began to fall. It was a rare sight in LA, which almost never gets snow. Even the usually composed Jack was excited, pulling me out onto the balcony. Snowflakes landed in our palms and melted on our brows. We looked at each other and shared a gentle smile. You and the snow have something in common, he said softly. What's that? Both are gifts from heaven.